Hey, welcome to another episode of SOFREP Radio. I am your host, Rad, and I have a very special guest today, Ranger Hall of Fame, inducted in 2013, Max Mullen. Welcome to the show, Max.
Well, thank you for the invite. I'm glad to be here.
You know, I really appreciate having you on the show. We tried to get you back on a few months back, and there were some technical issues, and we were able to circle around and bring you back on the show. So again, thanks for taking the time out of your busy day. I know just off the top of my head, you just got done with speaking at the Ranger graduation recently. Is that right?
Friday was the Ranger School graduation for class 7-22. And it was really good. I believe it started out with 330 original Rangers, and they graduated with 162. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty packed.
Half the class typical, made it through.
Yeah, and so it was 162 plus. You have Rangers who had to be recycled through the different phases that helped make it up to class. So it was quite a few that would drop from that 300-something people. It was something else.
Right, because you may have Rangers that were in training that may have received some type of go back a week or two and then join this group, and they would fall in with this.
As they go through, right, Rangers have to, either get injured and they be held over to the next class and catch it with them. They may be hit with, injuries or peers, or they fail patrols, and they go before a board, and the board, evaluates their infractions, and so they may be picked up with the next classes that come through. But a lot of them are like injuries. Somebody get, impetigo or something like that. They hold them over till the next class catches up, and they move on through the course.
Well, that's amazing. So you see this younger generation taking your slot. When you were that younger generation, you were in during like the 80s, early 90s. Am I right? What year did you serve?
I came in. I joined the Army back in 1976. And so basically, the Vietnam War was just winding down. The war officially ended, I believe, and was in 75. And I remember, I finally remember it. All the church bells and everything were going off in my town I lived in. I said, "What's going on?" I said, "Well, the Vietnam War is officially ended." And so when I joined the Army in 76, it was different. The war just ended. And the Army at that time was really, really in bad shape. And, you'd be a young 18-year-old kid coming off the block, joining, and you want to do the right thing. So my first duty station was Korea, and it was an eye-opener. You had a lot of, most of the NCOs were Vietnam vets. And then a lot of the officers were, just didn't serve because, the officers, they move up through the chain and stuff like that. So the company commander and all the platoon leaders, they're just, they never served in combat. And so you had a lot of racial stuff going on during the late 70s. But as soon as President Reagan took over, when he became president, the Army transformed just about overnight. It was unbelievable, the transformation. And so when
and you appreciated that. Is that what I'm understanding?
Oh yeah, heck yeah, big time. So you kind of see things like that going on now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, right? And so you're getting trained now by hardened dudes who've been to Vietnam now. These are your mentors. These guys have been through the bush. Yeah,
and you have to remember that a lot of the equipment, when I got to Korea, I got there on January 7th of 1977. Young PFC. I was assigned to an Army unit, right? I was 11 Charlie mortars. So they had the 4 Deuce mortars, M106 mortar carriers. So when I got there, myself and 2 other privates, we didn't know what to expect. Old Quonset huts, open bays, and so they came in out of the field, and they was like, they treated us like crap. We're called turtles. Basically had to do everything at their whim, and the discipline wasn't all that good. So as a young private, he's pretty impressionable, so he can easily fall onto the wrong side. But I had a really good platoon sergeant. His name was Sergeant First Class Gore, a Vietnam veteran. I made specialists pretty quick. And so, I call myself bad-mouthing him, trying to show off in front of the platoon, because there really was no discipline. And like the privates and the specialists, we ran the platoon. We didn't have a platoon sergeant. We had an E5 who was scared of us. And so Sergeant Gore came and said, hey, my name is Sergeant First Class Gore. I said, oh, okay, here we go. And I lipped off to him, and he said, I want to see you after this formation at PFC. I said, okay. He said, okay, Sergeant. I said, okay, Sergeant. Everybody started laughing. And so then I went down to the barracks, and the guy said, hey, Sergeant Gore wants to see you. I said, oh, damn, what do you want? And they had Mullen, oh, yeah, that's Turtle. He just got here. He ain't going to, he's just blowing wolf tickets. So I finally remember I got up to his Quonset hut. I knocked on the door. He said, who is it? I said, PFC Mullen. I was PFC. I said, PFC Mullen. He said, hold on. So I heard a little scuffling and stuff. I said, oh, damn, what's this dude doing? And so then he said, come in. Let me tell you something, Rad. As soon as I stepped through that door, I knew I was in trouble. Because Sergeant Gore was sitting on his bunk. And I saw the red-eye platoon sergeant, the mortar sergeant, the other platoon sergeant, E6s and E7s, right, standing there, looking at me. I said, oh, damn. And I got at parade rest real slow. And Sergeant Gore got up off his bunk and walked up to my face. And he put his nose right on mine. And his eyes were bloodshot red. And he said, if your black ass ever, he's, black American, ever disrespect me in front of my platoon again, I will beat the snot out of you. I'll beat you down so bad I'll bury you in the rice paddy, blah, blah, blah. You understand that? I said, yes, Sergeant. And he just went the hell off on me. And then I remember he took that big knuckle and he blasted me in my gut. And I went down on my knees and I felt nothing but boot leather and fists ring down upon my body. And I remember Sergeant Gore saying, don't hit him in the face. Don't hit him in the face. Little punches and stuff, right?
Wow.
And then he said, okay, that's enough. So I stood up at parade rest. Yeah, body jabs. I stood at parade rest, and he said, you take your butt back down in that damn Quonset hut. If they ask you what happened to you, you tell them you slipped in the shower. You understand that? I said, yes, Sergeant. He said, what happened to you? I slipped in the shower, Sergeant. And he said, another thing. You're going before the Soldier of the Month board, and you better win it. I said, yes, Sergeant. He said, you understand that? I said, yes, Sergeant. He said, get the hell out of my damn out of my damn hut. I walked back down to the barracks, and he said, what happened, Mullen? I said, nothing. I slipped in the shower. And I remember Corporal Woods jumped up. He was the EO, Equal Opportunity. He said, oh, hell no. Dude, he beat you up, man. You need to put in an EO complaint. Man, hell, he can't put his hands on. So I said, look, I'm all right. I slipped in the shower. And from that day, my life has transformed.
Oh, yeah.
Well, all the guys went down to the village partying. I stayed in the barracks studying. Soldier of the Month board. So Soldier of the Month board came, knocked on that door. I walked through there like a guard from the old tomb. And they were so impressed. They said, damn, okay. And they said, PFC Mullen, you're, Combat Support Company, Soldier of the Month. I said, wow. So I went on to win Soldier of the Month for Battalion, Brigade, Division, Soldier of the Quarter. I won it 2 times each of them. And so then Sergeant Gore said, you no longer one of the boys. And I was promoted to specialist. And he said, the most powerful thing you have in your hand is this little green ledger and a pen. He said, I'm going to put you through your first test. I said, well, all right, Sergeant. He said, you go down there and you pick out 10 guys, 10 soldiers for a damn detail at the AHA, which is Ammunition Supply Point. I said, I go down to the barracks, hey, brothers, hey, come on, we got a detail. Man, go to hell, man. Man, F you, man. We ain't doing jack. Man, I said, come on, you guys, I got to do it with the platoon sergeant. I said, man, you do it yourself. When the sergeant goes to, hey, they didn't want to listen to me. He said, see what I tell you? He said, started taking names down. I went down there and I said, hey, look, so-and-so. Man, boop, okay. Start writing. What are you doing? I said, okay, you want to play this game? So the pen is powerful than the sword. So I'm no longer one of the boys. And so life trajectory. But I look back on it. Half those guys I served with when I was a private back in the 70s either got put out the Army, kicked out, drugs or something. But I owe Sergeant Gore a lot for that old school. They call it wall-to-wall counseling. I loved every bit of it.
Right. And so here you are. How old were you? That was 17, 18, 19 right then?
I was 18 years old and what really, I got to go back just a little bit further. Back in 1958, I was a pendant living on Okinawa. right? 5 years old, living on Okinawa back in 1963. My father was in the Army band. He was a phenomenal musician. He went to Florida A&M
Rock
College,
star.
which is the famous black college. He was in a famous marching 100 band. He even dated Ophelia Gibson, the first black Wimbledon tennis pro. And he was a phenomenal musician. He played with Ray Charles when he was in college, as backing musician on some of the sets. In the Army band, he played at Eisenhower's funeral. He
Pianist.
played at JFK's
Wow.
John F. Kennedy's inauguration. But here I am, Okinawa, and I remember I met this man.
Wow.
I never forget his name was his name was Staff Sergeant Cherry, a black Special Forces Green Beret. And I remember he walked in and I saw his boots. I was in total awe. A little short kid. I said, awe. And I said, I could see myself in your boots. And he said, yeah, that's what you call a spit shine, young man. And I said, wow. And I said, what is that you have in your head? What's that funny hat? He said, this is a Green Beret, Special Forces. And he took it off and placed it on my head. And he said, you want to be Special Forces? I said, yes, sir. He said, okay. You got to, do good, do what your mom said, and so forth. And so then at that time, the 173rd Airborne Brigade was stationed on Okinawa, right? They stood up. And this before they deployed to Vietnam back in 64, the Battle of Dak To and so forth. And so you had the 503rd there, and they had an organization day. And I finally remember at the age of 5 years old going down there. They had the weapons equipment layout. They had a little hand-to-hand combat demonstration. And they had a little mock tower, a little mock tower, a 35 little mock parachute tower where you put your little kitty harness
for
on.
rappelling and climbing up,
No, this is
rappelling down it, and doing
where you
like
jump
simple
out.
maneuvers.
You jump out. It's like you jump out, you slide down.
For
had an airplane
airplanes.
harness on.
Parachute.
Yeah, for airplanes, right?
I see. I got you.
So
I got
in
you.
Airbus, could call it a 35-foot mock tower. So that little kitty tower, he put the harness on. He had a jump master's wing shining. And it's crazy how you remember these things as a young kid. But I remember it was yesterday. And I remember saying, young man, when you go down, I want you to holler Geronimo. He said, are you scared? I said, no, sir. He said, okay, ready? So, touched me on the shoulder. He said, go. And I said, Geronimo. And I wanted to be Airborne Ranger. And so then I went on.
Right then and there.
I remember I jumped off my parents' house, the quarters with an umbrella, fell into the bushes, got scraped up. And so that set me on a course for wanting to be, special operation at that young age.
Yeah, you're already daring. You already wanted to do it, so off you go.
Yeah, you have to remember this is
to the
during
Army,
60s and 70s.
Straight to 11 Charlie. Yeah, dude. I mean,
you got to remember this is during the 60s. It was terminal
you're in
years.
a different time.
Very, very different time. Very different. Lived on a military base, so you didn't see a lot of this racism, all this crazy stuff. Because I grew up doing the civil rights movement and all that, so I see a lot of this stuff that's going on, and half the stuff they're putting out is nothing but propaganda and lies. And I tell them, I lived it. I seen it. So a lot of the stuff they're putting out is fake history, revisionist history. But what's crazy, that Sergeant Cherry, I've been trying to find Sergeant Cherry for the longest. Ever since, I was bumping the Special Forces guy, do you know Sergeant Cherry, 1st Special Forces Group, Okinawa? And they said, no. And then 2 months ago, I'm in this group, McVie Sog on Facebook. I saw a story on Sergeant Cherry. I said, man, it's got to be the guy. And so I finally contacted Sergeant Cherry. I said, are you Sergeant Cherry, 1st Special Forces Group, Okinawa? He said, yeah. He's in his 80s now. I said, you may not remember me, but I was a little kid. My mom was your wife's best friend. And I remember you put a green beret on my head. And I said, I never forgot that. And he was absolutely stunned and shocked. I told him this stuff, right? I said, I've been trying to find you for going over almost 50 years, Sergeant Cherry. And I said, I never forgot what you've done on the course. I said, if it wasn't for you, just those kind words, I'm off on how my life, because you set me up for success for the rest. And so then Sergeant Cherry said, I'd like to see you. And we met each other last month. And I remember he pulled up.
Oh, that's so sweet.
We met at a restaurant. He pulled up, and I saw the silhouette. And he got out the car. He a lot older. Had a Special Forces hat on. And to me, he was a giant when I was a kid, but he's a short man. I said, wow. I said, Sergeant Cherry, you just don't know how long. And so I hugged him. And so this 64-year-old man was that 5-year-old kid when I hugged him. And we sat there and
I
we
love
ate
this.
lunch, and I told him all that stuff on Okinawa, how he inspired me. And he was absolutely stunned and shocked. And I said, "Sir and Chair, you just don't know how much the inspiration, just the kind words, your presence, how it impacted my life." And so that's what I want to do, is try and inspire and impact the younger generation. And so after that, when I got to Korea, unfortunately, my career path didn't take me special forces, but I was in Korea, young PFC. We were doing Team Spirit of '78. And at this time, a lot of the training was conducted in wintertime because you had to track vehicles, and the grounds were frozen, rice patches frozen, so you could do a lot of maneuvers. So you did a lot of maneuvering during the wintertime. And I finally remember they said, "Hey, make sure you get your track squared away. The CG is going to land." That's the command in general. And so our gun track was the number 2 track, which is the base track that lays all the guns. So that's like the man, right? The base track. I'm young PFC, and my squad leader was Sergeant E5, and I was the ammo bearer. And he said, "I'm gonna put you in the gunner's position," because he was training me to be the gunner. And so the helicopter landed, and off jump this man, tall man, and his entourage. The PL, he met him. He's talking. Went down the CS40, the FDC track. Then he came to CS41.
Yeah.
And it was Major General David E. Grange, right? And he walked up on my gun track, his entourage out there, and my PL and platoon sergeant said, "Look, give me that look, don't mess up." And General Grange, he said, "Where are you from, young man?" I said, "I'm from Zion, Illinois, sir." He said, "Relax, right? I'm shaking here. He's 2-star general, commanding general." And I looked on his master wings. He had 2 combat stars, because General Grange jumped into Normandy at the age of 17 with the 82nd Airborne. And he also conducted a combat jump with the 197th Rakkasans in the Munsan, Korea, with the 197th. So he had 2 combat stars. He was a brigade commander in the 101st during the Vietnam War, and the best Ranger competition is named after him. He is a legend in the history of Rangers. Major Grange, that's the best Ranger competition named after him.
Oh, wow.
And he said, "What do you want to be?" I said, I saw that Ranger tab on his shoulder. I said, "Sir, I want to be a Ranger." He said, "You want to be a Ranger?" I said, "Yes, sir." So what do you know about Rangers? Well, sir, I read about the Rangers in Vietnam and the Korean War Rangers, because I spent a lot of time in the library. And he said, "My son, he is a captain in the 1st Ranger Battalion. General Grange, David Grange Jr., right? And his son served in L Company, 75th Rangers in Vietnam as the platoon leader. So that Grange family holds a lot of lineage and heritage. And he's in the 1st Ranger Battalion." He said, "You sure want to be a Ranger?" I said, "Yes, sir." So then he said, Captain McKnight, Danny McKnight. Captain McKnight was his aide-de-camp. He said, "Captain McKnight, take this young man's information and, get him all the prerequisites he needed to get to Ranger School." He said, "Yeah, we're going to get you scored there, young man." And he walked away. And so Captain McKnight turned out to be Colonel McKnight, 3rd Battalion, Black Ops Down, Rhodesia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he took my information down.
Yeah.
He said, "I'll be getting back with you there, PFC Mullen." I said, "Yes, sir."
No kidding.
Yeah, and so then I received my EIB, so we had an award ceremony, because 3 of us got our EIB. We're in an Army battalion, but just the platoon was infantry, but I received my EIB, Expert Infantryman's badge. And General Green was there giving the awards away. I still got that picture. I sent it to you. And as he was pinning my EIB on, he said, "You still want to be a Ranger, young man?" I said, "Yes, sir." I thought he forgot about it. He said, "Yeah, we're tracking. Colonel's going to get with you. Yeah, you're tracking." And so I was so inspired.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to set you up for success, young man. I said, "I really appreciate it, sir." He said, "Just soldier on, work hard, and just, become a professional non-commissioned officer." And so my first 2 years, I served 18 months my first year in Korea. And so from Sergeant Gore to General Grange, 2-star general, I didn't know all that fame about him, and a captain who would eventually become a battalion commander. and one of my real dear friends, that impacted my life. So
Sure.
in 18 months, I was a two-time, my mortar platoon, we were two-time division champions, Fort Deuce champions. I was a two-time wrestling champion, in a second infantry division, Indiana Olympics wrestling champion. I was a Taekwondo champion. I won the battalion, brigade, division, NCO the quarter, each of them 2 times. And I took 5th place in 8th Army Soldier of the Month. In my gun track, I have so much pride that our gun track, our mortar carrier received a 99.9% rating. Because when they came onto our track, they looked and said, "Is this a new track?" I said, "No, sir." He said, and they lowered the ramp. It looked like it was brand new. It came up right out of Detroit. He said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, what I did is I took a TM and our track, they had to pull it in off of Team Spirit. And they were cannibalized for parts to keep all the other vehicles. So we had around a little over a month to get the vehicles ready. And so we had a new pack put in. I told my gun crew, I was just a young E5, I was the corporal, right? I said, "Look, we got to get this gun track up." So we paid the Korean Odyssey. I was a corporal, but I went before the promotion board, but I didn't get the cut, so I was a corporal. And so I paid Odyssey to repaint our vehicle, the camouflage, the BDU camouflage pattern. And we put all the stickers and stuff in. He painted inside, the lime green, and we toiled on that track. And when they lowered the ramp, they thought it was a brand new track out of Detroit. And the guy said, "You kid? You sure this?" I said, "Sir, this track is just as old as the other ones." And so he went to turn the engine on, and the engine light, engine oil check light, blew out. That was the only gig that track had. Only gig. And so
that's
from
the
that,
99.999%.
Yeah, the highest rating of any track vehicle in the 2nd Infantry Division. And this is at the corporal. And so then I left Korea with the Meritorious Service Medal. I didn't even know what it was. And so then that set me up. Right. And so then from there, I served in Alpha Company 175. And the crazy thing about it, it seemed like it hit everything when it was historic moments. When I got the first bat, at that time they only had 2 Ranger battalions, 1st and 2nd Ranger Battalion. And 1st Battalion just stood up back in 74. So I'm getting there in 78. I'm getting there in 78. And it just stood up in 74. No, I got there in 79. It just stood up in 74. And so, let me back up a little bit. I was assigned to 101st Airborne when I left Korea. So when I was the 101st Airborne, I was sitting around and I said, "You know what? It got to be something better than this." I remember. So then I got the information from Captain McKnight on the prerequisites on how to apply for Ranger School. So I put in a 4187th. 4187, I took the airborne PT test. You had to be a 2-time volunteer, airborne PT test, and also then I took the Ranger PT test. And so I came down in orders. I went to Fort Benning, Georgia. I went to airborne school. And then it was crazy when I graduated airborne school, I made E5 at Fort Campbell, right? So the E5. And I was supposed to go straight to Ranger School. And so I told the airborne instructor, "Say, look, I'm supposed to start Ranger School next week." Cause at that time, the only ones that had pre-Ranger was 1st Ranger Battalion and 2nd Ranger Battalion had little pre-Ranger programs, but all other services didn't have pre-Ranger programs. So that's why you had this DA pamphlet that tell you all the prerequisites that you must be proficient in, skill level 1 and skill level 2 tasks that you should be proficient in prior to attending Ranger School. So I attended Ranger School. So when I graduated airborne school, they were putting us on the buses. The 1st Ranger said, hey, Sergeant, I'll start Ranger School next week. I'm going to stay here. "All right, now get on the damn bus." So he made me get on the bus. I go all the way to Hunter Army Airfield, report in, and do the 1st Ranger Battalion. We're out there at Sabre Hall, and I remember this guy named Sergeant Lamica comes up to me. He said, "What are you doing here?" Because if you're in NCO, you're supposed to be Ranger qualified prior to going to the Ranger Battalion. I said, "Hey, I tried to tell them that I start Ranger School next week, and they put me on the bus. My class starts next week." And so Sergeant Lamica, he was
Right.
pissed off. He said, damn it, now we got to waste a damn slot for you. I said, Sergeant, why you sweating me? I mean, it's not my fault. I tried to tell him. And so Sergeant Lamica, he was pretty
Yeah.
nasty towards me. He said, well, we're going to put you through in a pre-ranger. I said, no. I start next week. I got orders, right? So they had to put me on that bus. And I never forget his words. He said, well, you're probably not going to graduate anyway. I said, okay. That lit a fire in me. So I got to Fort Benning.
Yeah, right. Tell me no.
And I got to Fort Benning. And what was crazy, yeah, it was a shock. It was a shock. Ranger School back then. You had the infamous Morgan team. The first week, we probably got less than 6 hours sleep. And it was like ball crusher for the first week. Sleep deprivation, food deprivation, everything started there. And it was like chaos. And I said, man, what the hell I got myself into? What am I going to quit? And so, I made it through Camp Darby, a Morgan team, made it through Camp Darby, made it to the Florida phase. And Florida phase is when you're over the hump. That's when you're over the hump. And what's crazy about Florida phase, I remember it was raining one night so damn hard. It rained on us for something like 4 days straight. And the temperature's around 60, 70 degrees. And you lose so much body fat. You lose so much muscle mass and body fat that, 60 degrees feel like you're freezing to death. And everything was damn wet. Everything was wet. And every morning, the new Ranger instructor, fresh Ranger instructor come in, the first words out of his mouth says, all right, who wants to damn quit? There's a bus right there. There's a truck right there, the Deuce. Just grab your stuff and get on. Who wants to quit? I know you got, somebody got to quit. Who wants to quit? He's shaking, just looking. All right, who wants to quit? Hot chow on the back. Then you see a couple of guys grab their rucksacks and, all right, yo, hop on the truck. Throw the stuff on the truck. And you're trying to, man, don't do it, man. You're going to regret it. Man, hell with this crap. I'm out of here. And so then you see him get on there. The Ranger instructor just holler at it. So I get back on the perimeter and clean your weapons and do your priorities of work. But this one particular night, we did an ambush. We did ambush. And we were moving to the patrol base, and my glasses all fogged up. It's dark. You can't even see your range eyes. Everything's dim. And we were walking across this log, this creek, and I slipped. And my left leg went up to my crotch in mud. And I tried to get up, and people walking over me. And I'm just about to lose it. I'm about ready, man, the hell with this. I'm out here. And I remember Ranger Kelso, he grabbed me and said, Max, don't do it, man. Come on, I got you, buddy, got you. Don't do it. Don't do it. I said, man, okay. Well, think about Sergeant Kelso, Ranger Kelso. Ranger Kelso fought with the Rhodesian Scouts. He served in the 82nd Airborne. He fought with the Rhodesian Scouts, the Sicilian Scouts in Africa. And did some combat jumps with those guys.
Yeah.
Came back, joined the Army, went back to the Rangers. And so him and our Ranger buddies, he eventually went on to be RTB, Ranger Training Battalion, Command Sergeant Major. We served together in 1st Bat, and he was inducted to the Ranger Hall of Fame, and he's a Ranger legend, Kelso. And so I graduated, got back to 1st Bat. At that time, it was crazy. You had Desert One going on. Now, I remember Charlie Company deployed. That's when you had the Iranian hostage stuff, and it was crazy. But one thing about the 1st Ranger Battalion at that time, you had 2nd Bat up there at Fort Lewis. We very rarely, really didn't train that much together. They had the West Coast Pacific. We had the East Coast, everything, Germany, Mediterranean, and so forth. So we very rarely. West. Only thing we had in common really was our history and lineage. We just didn't train because we didn't have a regiment at the time. But
because your theater of operation was different than the West Coast theater of operation. Yeah,
exactly. We fell under the Joint Chief of Staff at that time. Delta was just standing up. They had the thing going on between Blue Light and Delta, they won the toss that I had. And so everything was in its infancy at that time. Then Desert One hit. I remember that Charlie Company was chosen to go. And they would disappear, they do all this training, and they took a couple of our medics and everything, and said, what the hell Charlie Company doing? I had the gun jeeps and stuff. And they're doing something.
Right.
They were doing something. And so then they deployed, and then the next thing I know, Desert One hit. It was a disaster out there with a helicopter. The C-Knight hit the MC-130. It was problems from the word go. Everything just joined. It was a mess. And I finally remember I was in the nightclub. I just came from the nightclub and went up to the day room to get my mail. It was Charlie Company in the day room cleaning weapons. They just got back from Yemen. And I saw my buddy, Ranger Evans, tall black brother. And I said, dude, what happened? Where the hell were you guys? Yeah, man, we just got back, man. I was out there on Desert One, man. Yeah, I was at the blocking position, and man, me and Ruiz, and man, this bus came up. We stopped it at this, they were out in the middle of nowhere, Desert One. This bus came up, had all these Iranians on there, and we stopped them, and I got onto the bus, and this Iranian who was speaking English said, "Who are you guys?" And he said, "We're Nigerian commandos." He said, Evan said, I told him we were Nigerian commandos, and we ordered him to get off the bus. And if you ever read the book about Desert One called The Guts to Try, you hear Sergeant Evans, his name mentioned in there. And so Stan said they got him off the bus.
Referencing that.
And so, and so all of a sudden they saw this tanker coming. And they hit it with a law, and it was a big old fireball, and the guy jumped out of a tanker and got in his cab behind it and took off. And so it was compromised. You got this tanker up here inflamed. And all of a sudden, they were getting ready to load the hostages up, and all of a sudden, that's when the helo hit the helicopter, and all hell broke loose, And so then, from that moment on, the Rangers was transformed just about overnight. A few months later, we deployed to 29 Palms, and we were doing training. And I finally remember we were doing reverse training because it's too damn hot to do anything during the daytime. So we just basically rested, did reverse training, did our training at night. And I remember our company commander, we had a formation out in the middle of the desert, 29 Palms. And he started laying all the weapons. So everybody got a 203 and laid on this poncho. Everybody got this weapon, boom, 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 laid them out. Then they brought out some MP5s, right? And they said, okay, first platoon, you're going to be jump clearing. Second platoon, you're going to be building clearing. Third platoon, more weapons platoon, you guys are going to, be fire support. And third platoon, you guys are going to be roaming on the bikes and so forth. So we started training just airfield seizure. This is all we did. And so at that time, that's when the Ranger Battalion really started its transformation. And so then after the first Ranger Battalion, I went back to Korea for my second tour, and I had the opportunity to serve up on a DMZ. Right, the DMZ mission received the MGM Scout badge.
The demilitarized zone, right? That's in between North and South Korea, right?
Absolutely, right. And it was no joke. The units would deploy up there to rotate up there for, I believe it was, I want to say 30 days. 30 days they rotate the Warrior Base, Tent City, and they would conduct patrols in a demilitarized zone. And we had two guard posts, Collier and Olette, and so I had a sniper section. And at that time, the big thing was for designated riflemen. And so I remember Special Forces Yongsan. They came, a bunch of guys Special Forces Yongsan was part of the first group. They came up there and they trained the designated riflemen for each of the battalions and brigades. They had to send representatives. So I attended it. And so we're out there at Rodriguez Range Complex. And I remember one of the guys who were our instructor, his name was Sergeant First Class Melvin McIntyre. And I was sitting with Sergeant McIntyre, after he conducted our training. I said, hey, I heard you with McVie SOG. He said, yeah. And he would tell me all these tips of the trades of SOG missions he did. Mm-hmm. And I suck it up like a sponge. And little did I know that I would read about Sergeant McIntyre in last year's book, John McIntyre. So he was an influence in my life. And so my sniper section, I had a section at Olette and Collier. So we do patrols into the DMZ, have them attached. But I wanted to stay up there on Guard Post Olette. I stayed there the whole month. I didn't even come down. I stayed up there while they rotated guys. And I remember I would peer out into North Korea, look at North Korea every day in Propaganda Village. You could see the North Korean guards, walking the fence. And at nighttime, you hear we hear muffled rumblings, explosions. We had this giant ship-to-shore binos. We had to turn it where approximate direction we heard it. And we had to record a azimuth and approximate distance and report it, to a higher and report it 8th Army, because at that time, the North Korean was doing tunneling. They were tunneling. And they were finding these tunnels. They interdict these tunnels. They shut them down, and the North Koreans kept building tunnels. But the spookiest thing about DMZ mission is at nighttime, the fog would roll in. And that's when you would really pucker up. We had the Claymore mines out front. Every morning we wake up, we had to check. We had to go out there and check, make sure there was no footprints, rake it. Because the North Koreans would always try and infiltrate through the American sector because they believe it was the most lax sector. And they were pretty active during the summertime, trying to swim through the MGM and so forth. So I had the opportunity to serve on them. Got my MGM Scout badge. They turned over the DMZ mission to the Rocks, I believe, in 97. They gave it back over to the Rocks. Damn good mission. Damn good DMZ mission. You had Panmu John right there. You had, you were there. You see this, be a part of history. And so then after I left Korea, it's
a big deal because just recently there was a guy that ran across the DMZ, a soldier who just wanted to get into American hands so that he could get out of North Korea. That was like maybe 5-6 years ago, I think. And he got shot up by his own. I mean, they're no joke. They're trying to kill him.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
North Korea's trying to kill that guy. It's no joke.
It's the real McCoy. They would drop propaganda leaflets. They would say, hey, make sure you turn them into, I got so many old school propaganda leaflets. I'm glad I kept them. And I remember on my second tour, I want to say it was my first tour. On my first tour, it was the PFC Danny White.
Yeah.
He was the first of the 31st Bearcats up on the DMZ, and he walked across the DMZ to the North Korean side, right? And the whole division was put on division alert. And he said, hey, a soldier crossed over to North Korea. They thought he was kidnapped. And so a week later, we get these propaganda leaflets being dropped all over the division area. And it shows a picture of PFC White in North Korea with a big old bouquet of flowers and all his equipment laid out with a picture on it telling him, come, everything's great in North Korea, blah, 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 blah. And that was crazy, and the life is really great in North Korea. And so it eventually happened.
Hey, we have the same ringtone, bro. We have the same ringtone, Max.
I'm sorry.
I'm looking for my phone. I was like, it's my phone, Max.
And so what happened was that...
I keep looking for it, too.
Yeah, and
so he's getting propaganda flowers, and they're making pictures of him with all of his gear. Yeah.
And so that was pretty crazy. And they found him floating in the MGM River something like 10 years later. They got all the propaganda out of him they needed, and they found him floating in the MGM. I think it was from St. Louis. They sent his body back to his parents. So then I left there. I was assigned to the 2nd Ranger Battalion. I was in the first battle with Alpha Company 175, but this time I wanted to be in B Company 275. And there at Fort Lewis, had a lot of fun. That's when we deployed to Grenada.
Sure, and you did go, really, and that's where you jumped into Grenada. Right.
Exactly.
So what year is this now?
This is 1983, October 83.
Right. And so you shuffle up, you get the call, you're going to Grenada.
Yeah. I woke up Saturday morning, get ready to go wash my car. And at that time they said, oh, okay, formation. And I said, oh, damn, here we go. And at that time, what happened was somebody let loose with the CS grenade at the Puyallup Fair. And the Rangers got blamed for it, and before that, somebody shot up a star cluster at the Tacoma Dome and it stuck in their ceiling, and Rangers got blamed for it. And so we thought it was punishment. So what they would do is have us do road marches, 12-mile road marches every week, every Saturday, unannounced. And I said, here we go again, another damn road march. But this was different. We had a formation. The first sergeant came out and said, okay, just stand by, don't nobody go anywhere. So we had another formation say, all right, start banding up your wall lockers. start banning the wall lockers. I said, damn, we never banned wall lockers before. So we're thinking it's just an EDRI, an emergency readiness drill. So we banned the wall lockers. And I remember they said, all right, get your D bags, C bags, D bags ready. Put them out, palletize them. So, well, still just another EDRI. Well, EDRI is where emergency readiness deployment, where you would fly out, conduct a mission, and come back, right? You go through all the in-hour sequence. You go out, you do your training, you do the mission, then you come back, stand down, boom, AR, stand down, boom. But this was different. I remember I walked past the battalion A station. I saw them like shuffling real hard. And I said, what's going on? I remember Dr. Julio. He went on to receive the Silver Star in Grenada. I said, what's up, Doc? He said, dude, we're going to war. I said, what you mean we're going to war? We're drawing morphine. I said, no way. He said, yeah, man, we're drawing morphine.
Oh.
And I'm still thinking it's just the EDRI. And so then next thing I know, 18 Silver Sides pulled up and the whole battalion loaded up. Went to McCord, and we flew from McCord on C-141s all the way to Hunter Army Airfield. And when we landed and those ramps went down, I saw a row of AC-130s, C-130s, I think an MC-130, all this activity, pallets, a lot of activity and stuff. I said, this ain't no damn EDRI. So they put us up in Tent City.
No, you're going.
Right. We're going. Mm-hmm. And so we started planning right away.
Yeah.
And my platoon said, hey, Mullen, I want you to help make terrain model. All right. Because I actually like to draw and stuff. So he said, I want you to help make the terrain model. I said, all right, sir. Well, we got any maps? He said, no, we don't have any maps. I said, no one of 50,000, 25. Nope, don't have any maps. So what I want to use. So he passed out these tourist maps. Right?
A map?
Yeah, tourist
right.
Map. It's beautiful, beautiful Spice Island, Grenada. Yeah. Big old giant, the big tourist maps, right? And I said, you kids said, no, we don't have any maps. And so we made a terrain model with emphasis on the southern end of Grenada, right, where the airstrip is at. And so we did the terrain model. And I remember I said, damn, I remember Grenada. Because a month before that, I think it was on 2020, they had a special. And I don't know if it was John Stossel, but one of those guys that was on the airfield in Grenada talking about at that time the Cubans were doing a lot of activity in Africa, right, over there in Angola. And so they were saying, the Cubans just building this 10,000 foot one-way to help tourism in Grenada. But they had other nefarious, ideals for that place. And so he had Cuban presence down there. And so at that time, President Reagan was worried about it. And then you had the Beirut bombing. The Beirut bombing happened, I think, a couple of days before we went to Grenada, the Beirut bombing. So you had a Marine MEU heading towards there. And the next thing I know, so we Sunday we're planning. Monday morning early, we start loading up. And so they said, okay, the 1st Ranger Battalion, they jumped the whole battalion, but they had to, due to shortage of aircraft, 2nd Bat, we'd have jumped with our full battalion contingent, so we had to pick people. So I was chosen, and the rest of the personnel from the battalion would follow on the next day. Once the island is secure. But doing the planning, everything that we planned for, we thought it was going to be a cakewalk. We're going to airland. Bravo Company, our mission was we're going to conduct a foot march all the way to Cavallini Barracks. Right, I think it's probably around 10 mile foot march to Cavallini Barracks. Once there, we'll have one of our Spanish-speaking Rangers, tell the Cubans there, hey, stay where you at, stand down, you're going to be evacuated, Red Cross, blah, blah, you're going to be, repatriated back to Cuba. And so then you always want to go by SOP, Standard Operating Procedures. So I remember it said, okay, with SOPs like a rifleman, this is basically loaded ammunition supposed to carry, the saw, the 203 gun, and so forth. So each position have the allotted amount of equipment and ammunition supposed to carry. So we went to the SP. We said, hey, take what you want. So started grabbing the ammo and just boom, and they issued us an MRE. I said, what the hell is this?
Like, okay.
It's an MRE.
I just see you taking belts and like grenades. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing,
Yeah, and then,
right. So I'm
Yeah.
packing my rucksack. They said, okay, just take a BDU top. Okay, take your poncho liner. All right. Okay, you don't need this, you don't need that. And so the rest of it was basically ammunition. And then they gave us MRA. So what's this? This is new military meals. Before that, all we ate was C rations. But when we were going to Grenada, we've issued MREs for the first time. And after we got back from Grenada, I never saw another C rat. Never saw it. Matter of fact, I still got one of my original MREs from Grenada. And so
Is that the brown ones, the brown
so,
package MREs, meal ready to eat with like Franks and beans and whatnot? The brown, dark brown, right? You know, the old school.
Yeah, first generation was terrible. Oh, terrible. Yeah, terrible. And
I ate it. Growing up in an armory, what do you get? You know, as a kid that's 12.
Yeah. Man,
I've been there, dude.
First generation was terrible. Man, gas, man, tuna noodles. Oh my goodness.
I'll tell you.
Chicken stew, beef stew.
Oh my gosh, your stomach. Got to be combat effective though. You need to poop.
Yeah. And
Oh
so then,
man. So you get an MRE. Yeah.
Yeah, get MRE. Then they said, hey, the mortar's going to be here. So, hey, here's 3 M60 rounds. Oh, damn. I got the M60 round. I mean, for the 60 millimeter mortar, 3 mortar rounds. Okay, boom. Oh, hey, here's some 7.62. Hey, you got to keep the 60s ready. Okay, got that. Oh, yeah, here's a long. Oh, here, this, right? And so, Ruck was crazy. We had the large Alice pack, and so Ruck was basically nothing but ammunition. We had to help each other up, waddle onto the aircraft. So we get in the aircraft. I remember we had 2 gun jeeps, 2 bikes on our bird, and it was packed. We took off. I think it was something like.
And you're physically fit.
Yeah, we're fit. We're fit. We're specimens. You know, we were physically fit.
100%, and you still are. Yes, and so you're carrying all this gear.
All this gear, incredible amount of weight. And so I remember loading up on aircraft. I saw to the front of the bulkhead near the pilots. We saw a stack of parachutes, right? And so, that must be contingency plans. We had to jump in. And so I think it was almost like a 6, 7, maybe 8-hour flight all the way down to Grenada. So you're trying to rest. It's hard to rest. I believe our AC broke, so it was getting kind of hot. We didn't, AC wasn't working. And so, you didn't, you're not thinking, it's going to be a cakewalk. And then I remember we had 2 SIGO guys up to the front, and they were giving reports. I said, hey, we just got a report. I mean, hey, attention. They're placing obstacles on the runway every 100 meters. Be prepared. Maybe jump option. I said, oh, damn. So people pass around notes, hey, man, it's happening to me. Tell me, man, shut up. Dude, you're going to be all right. And so then we're getting close, and all of a sudden we're around almost 30 minutes out. They said, hey, I think we're 30 minutes out. They said the first pass is taking anti-aircraft fire. First pass is taking anti-aircraft fire. We're going to jump in, start suiting up. So we started passing parachutes out. And we said, damn, where are the reserves? We didn't have reserves on our aircraft, right? Second bet, we had no reserves on our aircraft. And at that time, you may have first, second bat, their SOPs were a little different. Like when I was in first bat, we always jump with weapons exposed. But in second bat, they always jump with weapons at M1950, the canvas weapons containers, right? And so second bat,
that went on the side of your hip, right?
Right. They were familiar with rigging their weapons for jump without the weapons container. So another friend of mine, he served in first bat too, and he knew how to, so we knew how to rig, weapons exposed, and so we started assisting. We started help rigging the guys with weapons exposed. And then we got everybody suited up and, trying to do JMPI and like, okay, no reserve. So boom. And then they said, okay, we're going to airland, take your chutes off. So we took our chutes off and threw them to the front. Then 15 minutes later, said, hey, we got Rangers on the ground. We're going in. So they start passing stuff back out. And we're no more than around 15 minutes out. And we're putting stuff on. There's no JMPIs really being conducted. The jump master inspection, that was thrown out the window. And I remember the John Master said, "Hey," he said, "if you don't make it on the first pass, you're going to airline in Barbados." And so we stood up for almost 10 minutes, and he said, when you see the light tower, I want to get the word go." Right, that'd be your time to go. We had a green light. We had a green light on for 30 minutes. And the weight of my rucksack was crazy. You're sweating, you're getting air sick. And the pilots, they're nervous. So we're going way above a safe air jump, airspeed. And he said, we're going in at 500 feet. Wow, 500 feet. And I remember I was
combat static line jump.
4-man in the door. Yeah, static line jump. I was number 4-man in the door. And they said, go. He just kind of shuffled out. And I'm looking out the little port window. And that it didn't look like it was 500 feet. It looked like it was lower than 500. And you got to remember, during peacetime, you jump at 1,200 AGL. And anything gusting over 12 knots, you don't jump. But we're jumping up, the wind's gusting up to 20 knots. On a 10,000 foot one-way at 500 feet, pilots going a little bit faster. And I remember I didn't jump out, I just fell out. I twisted all the way up to my canopy. And I'm riding my canopy, trying to bicycle out. I pulled my rucksack, the lower line. Didn't even get to the full extension of the lower line. Rucksack hit. Rucksack ripped open, the ammunition out on the runway. And I'm flying across the runway. I said, man, this is going to hurt. And I hit that runway so hard. I slammed into it. But you got all that adrenaline going, just like, kind of like shake it off. And so we jumped in.
So you bounced back.
We secured the
right
airfield.
away.
Yeah, we secured the airfield. We conducted missions. Our last day, we did the Cavallini Barracks raid. I was in on the Cavallini Barracks raid. That was crazy in itself. And so here we are jumping in on a Monday. Here we are landing back at Fort Lewis, Washington on a Saturday. And
literally
from
Monday,
that, a lot of lessons learned.
And you're back on Saturday.
Yeah. And during that time, that week, did a combat.
What'd you learn?
We did the rescue. Well, the lessons learned. Well, what was crazy was that we couldn't talk to the fast movers, right? We couldn't talk to the fast movers. And then we couldn't talk to the fast movers. We couldn't talk to the Navy couldn't talk to us. We couldn't talk to Marines couldn't talk to us, right? Then SOPs was very important. We did the raid. I did the jump in. I did the Cavallini Barracks raid, and also did the Grand Arness rescue of the students, American students. And it was crazy. We landed. We captured something like, we were on the ground for around 30 minutes. We captured over 100 Cubans, Grenadians, because every time AC-130 would light up that hill, they were scared. And it was pretty wild. It had the international peacekeeping force there from Barbados, the Caribbean countries. So
yes,
it was something different.
That's incredible. And so, who was on the ground before you though? There's got to be someone giving you coordinates? Who are you guys working with? Is there a joint team going on here? You working with some SEALs?
Right. The Marines, they're on their way to Beirut, and they were diverted. So they landed on the north end of the island, right? And so we're on the ground. When we secured the airfield, we cleared the obstacles off the runway. And so the C-130s would come land, right? They land, do a short land, turn around, drop the ramps, vehicles come off, then they take right off. And then another aircraft come in. Then the C-141s landed probably around an hour and a half after they're on the island, right? They started landing. And then they started offloading the little birds. And then they started offloading the DAPs, right? The UH-60s. I mean, MH-60s, right? And I remember seeing the Delta guys load up, take off.
Blackhawks.
On their way to Richmond, present. And I was waving at them as I was going. And little did I know that's when they hit a storm going into Richmond prison. They got shot up, pretty good, but they.
Oh no!
Yeah, that was crazy. I saw those guys taking off, and then I saw the Cobra. I saw this Cobra strafing, and I remember laying on my rucksack, watching Cobra go down. It didn't come back. You see a puff of smoke. So next thing I know, around a week later, I see it on Time Magazine. That's when that Cobra got shot down. And it
Oh
was
wow,
crazy. It was crazy.
that is crazy.
And that
And
was the
so,
first jump.
what was Danny McKnight working with you on this whole project too? This whole situation? Because I mean, there's a story I'm going to bring into here with Danny, right? With Colonel McKnight, because yeah.
Right. What's crazy about Colonel McKnight, right? So I get back. Then I was assigned. So then I went and volunteered. Went to 101st, the Rockasans, and from Rockasans, right? I went to be a range instructor. Range instructor was the highlight of my military career, I can honestly say, before I served in the Ranger Battalion. So from being a range instructor, I went to 3rd Bat, and I was assigned to Charlie Company 375. And so Colonel McKnight took over. That's when I remember we did a mission. Now, I remember when I was in 3rd Bat, we lost 2 battalion commanders. My good friend Harvey Moore, best Ranger winner. We were roommates together for a minute as range instructors. He was inducted to the Ranger Hall of Fame on the Antelope out in Utah when the aircraft crashed. The
Blackhawks crashed down in the 90s here on.
Yeah.
That's right here in my backyard. I actually have seen that monument and paid respects to that. Monument. There is one out here on the causeway. Yep. That's right.
Yeah, Harvey Moore.
Sorry for the loss there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Harvey Moore, a good friend of mine. Colonel Strauss and the other battalion commander, his name skips my mind. But yeah, we lost them. And so Colonel McKnight came aboard, and that's when Mogadishu came down. Mogadishu hit. And at that time, I was assigned to
that's the exact same time.
7th Ranger Regiment. Yeah. So I saw the when he left because Bravo Company and Charlie Company are quads right across from each other. Like, Jeff Struker, all those guys, I knew those guys, I knew because they were right across the car. We always talked smack to each other. And so when Mogadishu went down, I was up at that regiment, headquarters 7th Ranger Regiment. And I remember when it came back. So what's crazy about Colonel McKnight, I didn't realize it was the same Danny McKnight until we were doing an Airsoft event with John Liu. And so we're talking. And I was telling Colonel McKnight, I remember, General Grange, I remember this captain came up. He said, Max, that was me. I said, damn, sir. So it was Colonel McKnight.
Yeah.
Who got me the information via the regiment. Yeah, Colonel Danny McKnight.
Yeah.
So
in like 64 or when you were, excuse me, when you were in the gunner position of the vehicle and he came up and you're like, this dude's got 2 stars on his jump wings. I want to be like that. Yeah. And so here's today's Colonel retired Danny McKnight from, Black Hawk Down movie, Operation Serpent, which is in the 90s when they shot down our Blackhawks. And Max, weren't you somehow involved with that whole situation too? I mean, weren't you on standby or called to go into the Moog to go take care of stuff after that all went down? Was that something that was in your wheelhouse?
I was up at the regiment. I was working at a regiment S2 as a regiment S2 NCOIC. So we sent some intel analysts over there, and my job was to stay in contact with those guys. But Alpha Company, they deployed. My good friend of mine, Bobby Lane, we were Ranger instructors together, served the 1st Bat. He retired the Command Sergeant Major. He's also the ARTB Command Sergeant Major. Bobby Lane. So Alpha Company, they deployed. They deployed to Mogadishu after they went Battle of Bakar Market. They were there
once the situation arose.
But all those guys I know.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah.
Now with Airsoft, right? This is war games where, you and I have become friends, and I met you many years ago doing war games with John Liu, General Liu, and I met Colonel Danny McKnight at the time, who is now retired. Danny at the time was a captain and has moved up his ranks. So that's why we keep referencing Captain Colonel, because it's like,
yes.
You met him as captain. I've met him as colonel. So here we are back and forth. But, he'd be someone to have on the show one of these days as well. And I would say that Airsoft has brought us all together, being able to go out and recreate war games and pay tribute on Memorial Day. to the fallen, standing at a parade rest or attention when the flag is rose, the morning of the Operation Lion Claws, when, somebody boldly takes the microphone and belts out the national anthem, all right? At any voice, it's a perfect voice, okay? Great pitch, whatever, in the wind, the flag's blowing, the sun's beating down on your head, and you're about to go out into this village of just, BB slinging, and you're being led by Max, right here. Mad Max Mullen was my commander on my side for Bravo Company. Colonel Danny McKnight would be the commander for Alpha Company. March or die, right? And I remember one time I felt so bad. I felt like I cheated on you. I know that John Lou was like, Rad, I could use some tan guys. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right. Or maybe you asked us. Someone asked us to go tan. And I was like, oh, man, that was weird. But, I got to work with Dan, specifically. He's like, Rad. I'm like, yeah, Colonel. He's like, what do you think? What should we do? And I was like, whatever you think we should do. He's like, just do what you do. And I was like, let's go do what I do then. So, the way that he is, he's like, the leashes are off. Just come back when I whistle. And I was like, where you at, Rad? Where you at? Where's the war machine? I was like, sir, we're just putting Mad Max Mullen under fire.
Damn war machine. That damn war machine.
War machine.
Oh, man, I hate that.
Yeah.
That is a combat equalizer.
Oh, well, it was built for, you got to talk about Ajax, right? He's my best friend. He's one that created that. Yeah. Because we did so many boots on the ground at Lion Claws, and we were getting attacked by armored personnel carriers from the rear with McKnight. He was dropping off guys behind us all the time with deuce and a halves. And we're like, what? No more. We're going to bring this to max. The war machine was really built with you and us and success in mind at George Air Force Base, the nuclear bomb of airsoft.
Oh, that thing, I call it the Kraken. And it's funny. If you ever have a chance to look at some of these videos where the war machine's participating, your first way, here comes War Machine. People scatter like roaches. They scatter. Oh man,
War Machine's
but it's
coming.
Funny thing about War Machine's
Usually
coming. Man, War Machine's coming.
Yeah, go ahead.
The funny thing about airsoft,
and they don't realize that you're the War Machine, bro.
Oh man, War Machine. Man, that thing shoot them damn tennis balls. Man, watch out. Oh man. But the funny thing about I'm glad you brought up airsoft.
Tell me that.
I'm glad you brought up airsoft. I didn't have no idea what airsoft was until I believe it was around 2005. John Lou did the first event out in California at some cow ranch, and he had invited Ken Miller. Mm-hmm. Ken Miller, former L Company Ranger 75th in Vietnam, wrote 3 books. Books. Had the most patrols of any Ranger alert in Vietnam. Was shot down out of a helicopter in a stable rig. Phenomenal mind, speaks fluent Chinese. He went up against Colonel McKnight the first time, and so then the original thing is they're going to rotate commanders out. And so then John Lou, he contacted me the second year because Ken Miller recommended and said, hey, I think John Lou, we do best U.S. marketing airsoft, and like to know would you be interested in coming out in war game. I said, airsoft. I never heard of the sport of airsoft. You got to remember, this is back in 2005. It was basically still in its infancy. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll come out.
Right.
But I didn't know what to expect. And they said, you're going to play the role of the commander. And your job is to motivate them and to motivate them and also, lead them tactically as a leader. And so I said, sure, I'll come out. I had no idea I'd be doing this, 19 years later, almost 20 years later, still doing it. But the good thing about airsoft, the good thing about it is that opportunity. People, you have a lot of active duty people at that time that would laugh about it, mock airsoft. A lot of the big gear manufacturer companies didn't want to get their product associated with airsoft. And I would tell them, you guys are losing out on a awesome opportunity because, these so-called airsofters that always, people, they love the rear gear. And I said, you got these young men and young women out there, at least they're out there doing something. They'll make fun of obese kids and stuff like that. I said, you know what? At least they're out there doing something, not stuck in the house, playing Call of Duty. They're out there experiencing it. And I said, if I could bring something to it, I'll call it a sport.
Exactly.
And I said, it's the difference between airsoft and milsim. Airsoft is basically the kids going out there, they're shooting each other, just having a good time. But I said MilSim is a serious enactment. I'll put it in the same category as Civil War reenactment, World War II reenactment. And I said a lot of the scenarios are based off, real actual missions. And I saw it as an opportunity. I said, they're kids, they're young men and women that were kids when I was doing airsoft, who went on to join the military and serve in Afghanistan, in Iraq. I said, I remember you had, Captain Joey. He deployed and he came back while he was deployed to Iraq just to participate in airsoft. And I said, Joey, why are you doing it? He said, man, I just love this sport. I love it. And so when I say I'm associated with MilSim, I said, I love it. I love the sport. And I've been doing it for so long. And I've been at games where it's been over 600 people, 300 people, myself, Colonel McKnight, Paul Longgear, Battle of Long Bay, Knight of the Silver Star recipient, Ken Miller, Command Sergeant Major retired Mark Clasios, former Delta CAG, former 75th Ranger Regiment, former Ranger instructor, RTB. We do this, right? We participate in this. And you have
Special
these different
airsoft
organizations.
Participating.
Participate. It's all about fun. It's not about, you guys win. I don't take it serious. Guys will play with me for 1 year, then they go to the other side. I don't have no problem with it because it's all for the sport. We're here to myself and Sergeant Clasios, Sergeant Major Clasios. We're here to give realism and just try and just, bring to the sport. We don't try and treat them like they're real active duty soldiers or anything like that, but we try and put them in positions where they have to think leadership. We put them in leadership position like a young MilSim may come up to me. What should I do, Sergeant? Sergeant Mull said, well, what would you do? I make them think. What would you do? How would you attack this situation? Right. And so I treat it as a Ranger instructor where I'm there to, critique, advise, and so forth. And I know how hard to push the gas pedal, and I know when to ease up. But saying this, you have all these different organizations out there. You have MilSim West, was an awesome organization. They like to do 24-hour games, and you have all these different airsoft venues that you can participate in, but you have to find one that fits you. If you're into the 24-hour games, it can get as real as it can get. You got ones where they do like the indoor shooting, there's a real fast pace, but find your niche.
I have that. Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, I have find your niche, what you like to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Indoor shoot house, but it's a sport that everybody can participate in, and I highly encourage my active duty brothers and sisters. I had just this last airsoft event at George Air Force Base. I had 7 active duty Navy personnel, 7 active duty, running with me. I have everything from National Guard.
Oh, no, it's me. It's me. It's me. Hello? No, it's me, Max. No, it's my phone. Look, I love you, dude. That's it. It's simple. And I hope our listener listening right now knows that I have just straight love for this guy right here. Okay, Max. We have the same ringtone. This guy.
I'm so sorry. I put it on silence.
But
I have
no, it's okay. We've been talking, dude. I mean, we're in an hour and 8 minutes, bro. It's been awesome.
I'm sorry.
And no, because I want you to know that I want Airsoft, and I want you to really helm that, that beacon. I mean, Ranger Hall of Fame deployments, physically in shape, gives leadership tips, gave them to me. Things like you said that you wanted to track down the Green Beret that put that hat on your head. I get to talk to you all the time, bro.
Sure.
I tracked you down, and you've said things to me that have inspired me, whether it's, march or die. March or die.
March or die, baby.
March or die. It's like, there's just really 2 words right there. It's either march or die. And you could use that in your everyday life, right? In my business, it's either march or die. I'm not going to be successful unless I march or die. And I just want you to know that, Max. You inspire me as well. And I hope that, someone listening to this segment right now who may have had asthma, may not have been able to join the military for some other reason that out of their control, they can come play some airsoft with us.
Absolutely.
They can roll and rub shoulders with guys like you, hardcore gals like, that like Mama Nuke here in Utah who plays. It doesn't matter where you come from. you met Mama Nuke back in California. She came out with us and fought. So, I mean, Airsoft allows every color, everything you want to be to play. So just show up, shake hands, and just get your fight on. And there's no sense in causing drama, right? Because this whole tactical world that you talk about, like the big boys, the companies, the small airsoft companies, the government contracts out there, there's enough tactical pie for all of us to have a nibble of it. We don't need to go after each other's throats about it, okay? Just focus on your lane and just eat your pie, okay? And if you run out of pie, don't try to take my pie. That's it, dude.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
And I just, you're the man, bro.
I don't know about that, but I encourage, I encourage my active duty. I remember one time I had a guy who was a CAD guy showed up at an airsoft event. I said, dude, what do you do? Shh, don't say nothing. You'd be surprised. Who shows up at airsoft events, a milsim.
You remember, do you know Hobbit?
But saying all that.
If I say the name Hobbit to you, do you know that name?
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know
Look
him.
at his airsoft career that he had for a long time, dude. In Vegas, he had his whole environment that was all airsoft related with all those SF guys, bro. All those Delta guys that were running zombie missions. I'm just saying.
Apocalypse Vegas. But what's crazy, I was on the ground floor.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was one of the original men. Before it landed in Vegas. I was with them, Apocalypse Vegas, when it was still traveling, like a traveling, a show. They would go set up, and we would run those missions and stuff. So, Hobbit, he decided to have it home based in Vegas, and so I was part of that.
Right,
I was part of that. I helped hook him up with.
I got to walk through that with beautiful environment.
The only thing that hurt it was
makes sense.
when COVID
that totally
hit.
Makes sense.
Yeah, COVID killed it.
That's what hurt it.
COVID.
That's exactly what it did, because it was an indoor venue, no more gatherings. It wasn't anything to do with anything other than shutdown. It was forced shutdown. All of Vegas was really, because it's a tourist town. So, but Travis, if you're out there and you want to come play some airsoft with Rad and Max, you want to kick it, huh? We could have a little game we'll bring Travis. We'll bring him out. Oh yeah, he's a good dude, bro. Man. So it's a small world, Max. Yes, it is. Now look, I've had you for an hour and 10 minutes. Our listeners have had you. And I just want to say thank you so much, Max, for being on the show. Do you have anything that you'd like to say? I'll give you like 30 seconds to say anything you want.
Well, I just want to say, participate in MilSim, active duty, military, retirees, law enforcement. Get out there, have a good time. Try it out. I enjoy it. If you're at Fort Benning, look up Mad Max. You can hit me up on Instagram, Facebook. Hit me up. I answer all my anybody message me, I answer them all. But I also want to say, hey, Rad, thank you so much for the years of, how long we know? What, 15 years? Pretty close. Been 10 years, 12 years?
It has been 09.
Thank you
years,
for
14
all you've
years.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you've done for Airsoft and MilSim. And, thank, your dad for his service to Special Forces. Man, you're doing some great things. I want to encourage you to keep it up. Shop at store. It's good to go. Good equipment. If you have any advice you have any questions
support
on
local, baby.
Equipment, hit up Rad. There you go. Support local. And so, in closing, I just want to say thank you for inviting me on.
What's up.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And from all of us here at SOFREP, on behalf of Brandon Webb, we'll get you back on, Max. This is just only one segment of many to come, okay, my friend? So we'll get that out. And I just want to say thank you again on behalf of all of us at SOFREP, my listener that's listening and the viewer that's watching. All right, I'm going to say this is Rad and peace.